Welcome back to the channel. When you think of Canada's currency, your mind might jump to the loonie or the toonie, those distinctive dollar coins that set Canadian money apart. But for decades, the smallest unit of currency was the humble penny, or 1-cent coin. Today, we'll take a closer look at the Canadian 1-cent coin from 2003, a piece of change that many people used daily at the time, but one that has since become more interesting to collectors, historians, and anyone fascinated by the story of money. The Canadian penny dates all the way back to 1858, but by the early 2000s, its days were already numbered. Inflation had eaten away at its purchasing power, and the cost of producing a 1-cent coin was often more than the coin itself was worth. Still, in 2003, the Royal Canadian Mint was producing millions of pennies every year, and one of those annual issues was the coin we're focusing on today. The design of the 2003 Canadian penny was instantly recognizable, a pair of maple leaves on a single twig, designed by G.E. Kruger Gray. This iconic artwork had appeared on the penny since 1937 and had become a beloved symbol of Canadian identity. For many Canadians, it was the first coin they ever held as children, a reminder of allowance money, piggy banks, or change given at the corner store. That simple maple leaf motif spoke volumes about Canada's natural beauty and national pride. On the obverse, the 2003 1-cent featured the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II. But this wasn't just any portrait. In 2003, a new effigy of the Queen was introduced, created by Canadian artist Susanna Blunt. Unlike the earlier portraits that showed the Queen wearing a crown, Blunt's version depicted her without a crown, a more personal and approachable image meant to capture her dignity in a modern way. This was a major change in Canadian coinage, and the 2003 penny was among the first coins to carry this new portrait. Because of this transition, 2003 pennies actually come in two varieties. Some were struck with the older crowned portrait by Dora de Pedery Hunt, while others were issued with Susanna Blunt's new uncrowned design. For collectors, this makes the 2003 penny especially fascinating, because it represents a rare overlap where two different portraits of the Queen were used in the same year. Finding and comparing both versions can be an exciting goal for anyone interested in building a Canadian coin collection. In terms of composition, the 2003 penny marked a continuation of the shift away from traditional bronze. Since 1997, most Canadian pennies had been struck in copper-plated zinc or steel rather than solid bronze, which made them lighter and cheaper to produce. The 2003 issues followed this trend, with a copper-plated steel core that gave the coin its familiar reddish shine while reducing production costs. If you hold a magnet to certain 2003 pennies, you'll notice that they stick, a neat trick that reveals their steel content. Though billions of pennies were minted over Canada's history, the 2003 coin holds a special place because it straddles an important turning point. The new Queen's effigy, the ongoing debate about the penny's usefulness, and the changes in composition all reflected the evolution of Canadian coinage in the early 21st century. For many, these pennies were just loose change at the time, but looking back now, they carry the weight of a story about modernization, tradition, and national symbolism. By 2012, the Canadian government officially announced the end of the penny, citing its high production costs and minimal value in everyday commerce. The last penny was struck in 2012, and by 2013, the coin had disappeared from circulation. That means the 2003 issue was minted less than a decade before the penny became a relic of the past. Today, those coins serve as reminders of a piece of Canadian life that no longer jingles in anyone's pocket. For collectors, the value of a 2003 penny depends on its condition and variety. Circulated examples are typically worth face value, but uncirculated or proof versions can fetch a little more. The real interest comes from the dual portrait varieties. Some people enjoy putting together sets that include both the crowned and uncrowned effigies of the Queen. It's a small detail, but one that captures the nuance of Canadian numismatics. So next time you come across a 2003 Canadian penny, don't dismiss it as worthless. Instead, take a closer look. Is it the crowned or uncrowned portrait? Does it have that classic maple leaf glow, or is it magnetically steel-based? Each of these details tells a story about Canadian identity, its monarchy, and the economic realities of the early 2000s. Though the penny has been retired, its history continues to shine through coins like the 2003 1-cent piece, a tiny but meaningful symbol of a nation's evolving journey.